Hey again, Scouts. Today we're going to work on Scout Rank Requirement 1D, which is describe the first class Scout badge and tell what each part stands for. Explain the significance of the first class Scout badge. All right, well, let's take a quick look. I'm sorry, I'm back at the book. Let me kind of zoom in on that for you. That is the first class Scout badge. All right, you'll notice there's a whole bunch of different pieces in there. All right, you've got an eagle and a shield, you got some stars, you got the words be prepared, you got this knot dangling down, you've got that kind of funny shape behind the eagle there that we'll talk about a little bit about more. There's a whole bunch of different parts in here, and actually those parts all have various symbolism. So they're important, and we're going to talk about what each of those really means. All right, let's get started on that. So let's just break them down piece by piece. That funny shape behind the eagle that I talked about, all right, has kind of a point at the top, a couple of droopy sides. That thing is called a fleur-de-lis. All right, now if you look at that shape, you might actually have seen it before. All right, and the place where I find most often that people have seen that shape before outside of Scouts, it's very common in Scouts, by the way, is in football, strangely enough. All right. For any of you folks that are familiar with the New Orleans Saints, if you look at their helmets, they've got a fleur-de-lis right there on their helmets. All right, it's fleur-de-lis is a French word. All right, and it's really talking about that shape. It's supposed to look something like an iris flower, okay, or a lily, and so it has a similar shape to that. Now, okay, well that's great. What does that have to do with Scouts? There's a few different pieces here, but the big thing is that this symbol is used not just by Scouts in our country, but if you look at this little patch on my uniform here, that you'll notice there's a fleur-de-lis right there on this little patch. That is the International Scouting emblem. And it's used by Scouts all over the world. Every scouting organization throughout the world uses a fleur-de-lis as part of their symbolism. All right, so it's a symbol that is used throughout the world for all Scouts worldwide. Okay, so it's a very important symbol, and it's important that it's within our first class emblem because it does two things. It's part of our emblem, so it's part of America's scouting program, but it ties us to the worldwide scouting program. Okay, and you'll notice there are a couple things. You'll notice I've got sort of these groups of threes. I've got three leaves here at the top, and I've got three little points down here at the bottom. Those are supposed to really remind us about the Scout Oath. There's three duties mentioned in the Scout Oath. There's some symbolism there. All right. You may remember those are duty to God and my country, duty to other people, and duty to myself. So it's a little bit of a reminder about those duties that Scouts say that they take on and that they have. Okay, so that's the fleur-de-lis. That's that shape at the very back, if you will, of the first class badge. Okay, how about the eagle and the shield? Well, those are pretty obviously American symbols. We use the eagle frequently in American symbols. The presidential seal has an eagle in it. So very common. It's a bald eagle. All right, that's our national bird. It's a symbol for our country that's used. It represents strength. It represents dignity. It represents those ideals, really, that America has for itself. Okay. You'll also see that shield. Shield, and again, indicates strength and protection, and those kinds of ideals that America has for itself. And it's got, you'll notice the shield sort of has similar stuff on it to an American flag. It's got red and white stripes. It's got a blue field with some stars. Very symbolic of an American flag. So again, very American symbol there, really representing that we're talking in our first class badge about Scouts in America, our own organization, in our country. Okay? So that's another part of it. All right, underneath the fleur-de-lis and the eagle is a little, we'll call it a scroll. It's kind of a funny shape. Let me zoom in again here. I'm really talking about this shape here underneath the eagle. And the words be prepared. Well, if you've watched my earlier video about the Scout motto, it's be prepared. That's the Scout motto. And a very important core thing within Scouting, that one of the most important, probably the most important thing that we really want Scouts to get out of Scouts is that they're prepared for things. They're prepared to handle really whatever situation that they might encounter that comes their way. They're ready to deal with it. All right. And that they can take charge and jump in and handle the situation, make things better. Okay. So that's be prepared is a huge part of our program. Okay. And that scroll that's written on, now a scroll is really just, you probably heard that term before, but it's basically the old-timey way of doing a book. Back in the old days, they didn't really think about taking strips of paper and gluing them all together to make a book. They just had one very long strip of paper that they did their writing on, and then they rolled that up, and that was a scroll. So this is a scroll that be prepared is written on. One thing you may notice is, if you look at it again, it's in the shape kind of a smile. And so you might remember in the Scout Law, there's the word cheerful in there. So Scouts are cheerful. We try to be, we're not always happy sometimes, and you've probably seen me growl at you a few times if you've been to any of the meetings. But we try to be cheerful. We try to be happy about being in Scouts. Scouts is supposed to be fun and enjoyable. So that's a little reminder there about that part of Scouting. Okay. And then finally, at the bottom of the scroll, you'll see this little knot dangling down. Actually, there's one other thing I missed. I'll go back. So not finally. But at any rate, there's that little knot hanging down. And if you look in the handbook, it says, oh, well, that knot's a reminder of the Scout slogan. What? How the heck does a knot remind me of the Scout slogan, which you might remember, do a good turn daily? I'm confused. Why is that reminding me about the Scout slogan? Okay, a little bit of a story here. Okay. Nowadays, when we need a reminder, we probably grab one of these things. Okay. We grab our good old phone. We punch in there a little reminder, maybe an alarm, something on our calendar, whatever. We put something in there that gives us a little reminder. Okay. So, that's how we get our reminders these days, right? Well, back in the old days, before these things existed, what did they do? Okay. And if any of you have ever watched that movie, It's a Wonderful Life, that might be something that you can remember in there. The character in that movie, Uncle Billy, he had a hard time remembering things. He would forget stuff. He was forgetful. And they showed a couple times in the movie that he had tied a little string around his finger, a little knot around his finger. And in the old days, and I mean 70, 80 years ago old days, people used to do that. Oh, yeah, I got to remember after work, I got to go to the store and pick up some milk or whatever, okay? They'd tie a little knot around their finger, and then, they'd look down and they'd say, oh, gosh, yeah, that's right, I got to go. I see that knot. It's reminding me I got to go to the store tonight, okay? So it's kind of an old-timey thing. So that knot is sort of like the knot around our finger that reminds us, oh yeah, that's right. It's supposed to remind us about the Scout slogan and that we're supposed to do a good turn daily. Okay, so that's why that knot's there, and why in the heck that knot is supposed to remind us about something. Okay, this thing's been around since 1910, so you got to remember they put this thing together a long time ago, way before we had cell phones, way before we had PCs, all that nice stuff we have nowadays, Apple Watches and so forth. So anyway, that is that piece. The piece that I forgot and that we should go back and talk about are these two stars up here by the eagle. All right. This is supposed to remind us about two ideals of Scouting, of truth and knowledge. So Scouts are trustworthy, they're honest. All right. And knowledge is important to us. We intend in Scouts to really learn and know a lot about a lot of stuff. We learn about the outdoors. We learn about how to take care of other people. We learn about how to do different things that a lot of people don't know how to do. How to camp, how to hike, how to do aquatics safely, things like that. So, truth and knowledge. That's what the two stars are supposed to represent for us. One final note on that. You'll notice as you progress through, remember, first class is a ways into Scouts, that rank. We start out at the Scout rank. If you look at the Scout rank badge itself, all it has is a brown fleur-de-lis. Okay, so that's really the basis. That's where it starts. And if you remember the first class Scout badge, it's there. It's kind of the base piece that everything's built on top of. Okay, then when you progress to Tenderfoot, well, we add the eagle onto that fleur-de-lis. So you've got the fleur-de-lis and the eagle. Okay, so we're building it up. When you get to second class, the symbol for the second class Scout badge is that scroll with the knot hanging off of it. That's the second class Scout badge, just the little scroll. And then finally, first class is we're putting all of that stuff together. That's really the culmination, and we've learned all of those Scout skills. We've put it all together, and there you go. That's the first class Scout badge. So hopefully that made sense to you. That's the badge. The significance of it, it really is our symbol in the Scouting movement, both internally in our own country, in America. People recognize that symbol and know that that's a Boy Scout symbol. And it's a symbol that's recognized really worldwide as a part of Scouting because of that fleur-de-lis. All right, that really connects us to the worldwide Scouting movement. There you go. That's all about the First Class Scout Badge. Thanks for watching. Talk to you later.